All right. Good evening, board members and residents. I'd like to call to order our regular board meeting and public hearing for Monday, November 9th, 2015. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Batanti?
Here.
Mr. Brado?
Here.
Mr. Capral?
Here.
Mr. Tominello?
Here.
Mr. York?
Here.
Mr. Witt here, Mr. Verkest.
Here. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, including the approval of the regular board meeting minutes of October 26th, 2015, approval of the bills in the amount of $810,009.71, and to concur with the purchase of uniforms and outerwear from Armada Printwear in the amount of $6,806.17 for water and sewer department personnel.
Supervisor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the bills in the amount of $810,009.71.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Tominello with support by Mr. Brado. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is our approval of the regular agenda. Board members, as you see, we had an addendum. We received a notice from an employee taking a position with another employer, so we'd like to advertise that position as soon as possible. I propose we add the item as item C3 for the building official. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment?
Motion.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. Capral. Is there support by Mr. Batanti?
Support.
Thank you. Okay, discussion, board members? Hearing none, we'll open the floor for public comment.
William Bardell. Is this thing on?
Yes, it is.
Check 1, 2. Okay, William Bardell, 18-year resident, new kid on the block. I hope the next ordinance officer we hire, we don't tie his hands behind his back. And we put some money into the building and ordinance enforcement department because our resale values depend on it. So people are talking, so your number one fans may not be your number one fans anymore. So let's put some money into the building department like we're supposed to and ask this employee why he's leaving. Let's not tie his hands behind his back, and let's pass these regulatory ordinances like all the other townships do and protect our resale value. That's not, we didn't move out here for blight. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment. The motion is to approve the regular agenda with the addition of item C3. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is announcements. I've got a few announcements. First of all, thank you to the volunteers, the residents who attended the Veterans Memorial Program this past Saturday. We added, I believe, 9 names to our monument. If there are any veterans who would like to be added to the memorial, please contact the supervisor's office, 586-466-1445. The township offices will be closed for Veterans Day this Wednesday, November 11th, 2015. Offices will reopen on Thursday, November 12th at 8 a.m. A habitat restoration and invasive species control project has begun on the Clinton River Spillway. Residents are being asked to avoid construction and herbicide treatment areas due to health and safety concerns. For more information, you can visit the township website, www.harrison-township.org. The Harrison Township Christmas tree lighting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 1st, right here at the Rosso Hall from 7 until 8:30 p.m. We'll accept canned food donations for the food bank. And for information on these events and all township events, you can always call the supervisor's office or visit our website for more information. Anything else? No?
I want to mention the band. High school
Oh,
band.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And congratulations to the Lance Cruz High School Marching Lancers. This Saturday, they competed in Flight 2 at the state finals at Ford Field, and they finished in third place, so it's a pretty big accomplishment. When you consider they've been working on that performance since July, really.
Yep.
And I can say from sitting in the stands that, even though I guess I'm a little partial to the Lancers, certainly the response from the crowd, sometimes what the judges are looking for is a little different than what we see, but I heard a lot of people from a lot of different schools, different flights, say that they felt it was the most entertaining show.
Yes.
So if they had an award for that, I think it would have been first place.
Yep. I think they had a score of 92.450.
Is it?
I believe that was the highest score they've ever received.
Oh,
So they represented the community very well.
man, you kind of sound like a proud parent.
It could be.
So, just a little segue, in case you missed the band at Ford Field, they will be performing at the Christmas tree lightings.
There you go. There's your second chance. You don't have to drive all the way to Ford Field. Good. All right. Next on our agenda is the approval of the 41B District Court 2016 budget. We have outgoing Chief Judge Lucido here, not leaving the court, but he soon will relinquish his leadership duties and turn the gavel over to someone else. But Judge Lucido is here to tell us about the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. As Mr. Burkess said, we're here to get approval of our 2016 budget. It's very similar to the 2015 budget. We're very proud we've been able to stay under our budget and return money to the communities every year. We're making our bond payment. All of our post-retiree pension and health funds are all 100% financed. We're anticipating another good year for 2015 if things continue. And we submitted the budgets in advance. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review it. Our management council, made up of Mr. Verkest for Harrison Township and Bill Sowerby for Clinton Township and Mayor Dempsey for the city of Mount Clemens, reviewed it, voted unanimously to approve it. Last week, we were in front of Clinton Township and the city of Mount Clemens, and they both unanimously approved it. So we're asking for your approval. If you have any questions at this time, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions for Judge Lucido?
I make a motion to approve the budget
All right, we've got a motion
as presented.
as presented. A motion by Mr. York. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Tominello. I can say, from time to time, I do have an opportunity to interact with my peers in other communities. And sometimes in those conversations, when we talk about the various issues, I'll hear supervisors discuss how they're dealing with headaches with their court. Not only do we not have headaches, but the court doesn't burden the township financially, but there is sometimes revenue that comes back that we put into the police fund to help pay for the cost of providing police protection. So we're certainly appreciative of the effort that all three judges do in managing, and their staff do in managing the court.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. There's your third unanimous vote.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
In record time.
Take care.
Have a good evening.
Okay, next on the agenda is item C1, or actually items C1 and 2, regarding the Special Assessment District for Cherry Lane, Church Street, Bakeman Street, and Mast Court Road improvements. Mr. Witt.
Yes, board members, you'll remember at our earlier October meeting, we went through and conducted public hearing number 1 for the Cherry Lane, Church Street, Bakeman Street, and Mass Court Road improvement projects. The scope of work again includes grading the existing aggregate on the road, installing a 2.5-inch leveling course of asphalt, and then a 1.5-inch top course for the community. The purpose of tonight is to hold a public hearing on the assessment rule as it's been prepared. Give an opportunity for residents to speak to the equitability and fairness of the assessment. And then after the public hearing is done, we'll have before us resolution number 5, which again adopts the assessment roll as it's presented, and lays out when collection is done, and also that it be split out into 10 annual installments, that there would be a 5% interest rate on anyone who choose to take advantage of the installments. Residents do have the option to pay the entire lump sum up front with no interest against them, and they're only billed out at the actual cost of the project. The numbers here are estimates for, best budgetary estimates. So.
All right, so initially, there's a need to open.
Yep,
The-
we need to open the floor for for the public
Public
hearing
hearing.
and give residents their time.
All
So
right,
I'll make a motion to open public hearing number 2 at 7:12 PM.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Witt. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Caprell to open the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Caprell?
Yes.
Mr. Batanti?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Tominelli?
Yes.
Mr. York?
Yes.
Mr. Verkest?
Yes. As far as the rules, I'm trying to recall, do we typically apply a 3-minute?
Yes.
Yep. So we'd ask that residents, if possible, to limit their comments during the public hearing to 3 minutes. We're not going to be really too tough on that, but everybody's welcome to come up. We have on-deck chairs, so anybody who'd like to comment publicly, we ask that you come up, have a seat in the chair. That way, as the chair of the meeting, I know whether there's any public comments still waiting to be heard. So at this time, we'll open up the floor for public comment.
Good evening, my name is Jane Ann Schaefer. I live at 37810 Bakeman. There is no doubt that something needs to be done to our road. My confusion and my concern is that we have not gotten any really good information. We have some best guess from people in very broad brush categories of what this should cost. As I read through all the paperwork, especially that of establishing this district, we are stating that we should already have engineering information, we should have drawings and plans. We have seen none of that. In fact, at the last meeting, we were told that there would be no engineering done because of the cost until this project was up and running. So my concern is, what happens at that time if this is not a good number? If this number gets higher and higher and higher? This is already a burden for me and probably for other people, and it's not even a good number. As to the fairness and equity of it, they want to divide this by lot instead of by the established linear foot. That is how things are bid. That's how most public processes for maintenance and repair of infrastructure, that is the responsibility of a property owner, are handled. And here's where the inequity comes in. I have 14 and a half feet on this road. That means I am paying over $385 a linear foot for this road. I have neighbors with 30 feet, they're gonna pay $188. Neighbors with 60 feet, they're gonna pay $92. And the neighbors going down the road have bigger and bigger lots, and they are paying less and less and less per linear foot of this cost. That is not fair, that is not equitable. And we, as I said, do not have good information. We are not going to get good information until it's too late. That is not fair, and that is not equitable. In light of this, I would like to know exactly how the neighbors that have an issue with the possibility of this being too expensive for them, how do we apply for hardships so that we can get some relief that the bigger properties and the better off people are putting onto us that are struggling just to maintain what we have and to maintain our homes. I got an 80-year-old home, and it takes a lot of work, and this is a financial burden that is making that difficult for me. And I know, as all residents of Harrison Township, there is a movement to make sure that our homes are well kept, and if they're not, you'll hear about it. So I am trying to balance all this as best I can, and I just have a real problem with carrying the load of my neighbors on my back when I have the smallest access on this road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Donald Clay, and I own the one vacant property on Church Road. I've actually was a resident out there 14 years ago. I built a house on Mass Court. And during the time that I lived out there, I put thousands of dollars in fill on that, on both Church Road and on Mass Court. And since I sold my house and I still own a property out there, I've paid $4,000-some a year on a vacant lot that I can't sell because the road is horrible. And I think that if we allow, we have a petition with the majority of the property owners have okayed it. And if we allow the minority of the people to turn this down, then we're allowing a tyranny of the minority in this case. So I think we really need to approve this, and we need to move forward. Something needs to be done. Right now, again, the road was maintained this summer by one of the residents. He's not going to do it anymore. He has to use enormous amounts of equipment to do that, to bring it out there. So I hope this goes through. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Fred Wilhelm. I own a house on Cherry Lane and Bakeman, and I think it's fair that everybody pitches in because they all use the road. It's not just 14 feet. I don't know how they think they get to their house. I have the burden of paying for 2 houses. I don't really want to either, but there's something needs to be done because the dust is so bad and the potholes are so bad. It'd just be a major improvement in Harrison Township, and I don't know why there is even a question of doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Mike Johnson, 37786 Bakeman. I also have the burden of having 2 homes too. We use the house for a weekend house to have company over occasionally. And the dust is unbearable in the summertime, and you know, it's a shame because it's waterfront property. And I don't know if any of you folks have had a chance to drive down that road, but I think I've had a couple fillings come loose. It's really in bad shape. I understand everybody has their own burdens to bear, but this is it's a democracy. And obviously we have the petition. And the point is, I don't think we have anywhere else to go. I mean, if we want to look like a Middle Eastern war zone or something, it's fine, but something needs to be done, and we have to pay for it one way or another. Now would be the time to do it. And like I say, the dust hazard, I think they addressed that last meeting. If you come there in the summertime, you're outside chilling out, having a lemonade or a beer, when the cars come down the road, clouds of dust literally come right through the backyard. The screens are disgusting. It's just, and forget about washing your car. Unless you want to go to the car wash every day, it's not good. But at any rate, nobody wants to pay any money they don't have to, but if you have property on the water or near the water, like any other normal, subdivision, it would be nice to have a paved road of some sort. So, at any rate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Bill Kraske on Church Lane, or Church. I do a lot of work for federal and state, and we always have air monitors. And I talked to environmental engineers, and we were talking about the road, and they said almost on all these older roads like this, they're getting lead and asbestos readings from the dust. It's really what you don't see. That dust is mainly like limestone, but what you don't see, when it gets into what they call friable, and it gets into your lungs and your eyes, this is all cancer causing. Almost all of them are getting readings. I talked to them today. In fact, I was gonna set some air monitors up, but I'm the one that maintains it for the last 6.5 years. I take dozer. People think it's free to do this. It's $168,000. I just bought a dozer. $320,000 for the lowboy. $300,000 for the gravel train to bring the stone. $500 for the stone. $300 to $500 for the chloride. It has to keep the dust down. And I'm the only one that's done it. I'm the one that's doing it. I'm done. I get neighbors yelling at me the way I'm dozing it. So I'm done. There's only 2 options we have. We pave it or we maintain it for the rest of our lives. It's like probably about a couple grand each time. We gotta do it spring, fall, probably once in the summer. And to go around and get money from everybody, forget it. It's not gonna happen. The only reason I did it last time, it was impassable. It really was. I did it because I had family coming over. It's embarrassing. I got friends on Huron Point that won't come over. What is it, right around the block? It's that bad. And I know you guys gotta hear people complain. I'd hate to have your jobs, I really would. But if you're out and about, go down our streets, seriously. Go down our streets, and I guarantee you'd be where I am right now. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Molson Combo 37800 Beekman. I just want to point out a few things that Jane Schaefer had concern about. We have got some numbers here that we don't know where it's coming from. I was the person who initiated with one of the neighbors about 25 years ago when I moved to this place to get the engineering done and get the estimate and so on and so forth. But that didn't fly at that time. This time, we brought in 3 contractors to give us some assessment of what the best and worst case scenario for this road will be. We put in the budget almost $8,000 some $100 for engineering assessment, which is doing the topographic, grading, etc., all that into this proposal. And the number that we have in here is pretty much a worst case scenario, I would say. So we are hoping that once the engineering drawing comes out and we be able to have these 3 or 4 other people coming to bed on this, we will be much less than what we have in here. That's what we are hoping to happen. So we did not come up with this number just right off the air because Jane was concerned that we haven't done any homework for this project. We have brought 3 big contractors here to look at it. Of course, nobody's going to give us any formal and final bet unless the engineering drawing is completed. And then once the engineering completed, then everybody comes in and compete against that project. And we'll be able to beat this price. I'm pretty sure that will be less than what it is. I just want to make sure that I point that out to the staff here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for giving us your time today. I'm from 37790 Bakeman. I moved in 6 weeks ago, and I tell you, what a cool city, except for our road. I drive a smart car, so I used to have it for business. I would challenge you guys to drive down the road and that it like knocks the front end off. I'm like, I think I need new shocks, but I don't. The only thing I do, I own a business too. I'm looking at the cost, which I think everybody should have a hard number on what they're gonna pay, not an estimate and all that. Because right here, 15% overage costs. Man, in my business, I wish I could charge 15% more on every cost too. Anybody who's gonna bid this is gonna put 15% overage. If I do that in my business, I pay that price, sadly. So I just ask that you guys check out this financing. Besides that, we need the road. I think you guys know it too. All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Sir,
Can I get your name?
You mentioned your address.
Just so
there,
I can,
yeah.
for the record, since it's public.
Andy, and then last name Blasco, Blasco.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Marla Beal. I'm a resident on Mast Court. And I was going to say I'm the new kid on the block, but I think he's got me beat by a few months. As the new people on the block, my husband and I looked at this property a couple of times before we made an offer. The first time we looked at the property, we were disgusted by the time we got to the home because of the condition of the road. It took the second trip down on a better day for us to actually make the offer on the home. As far as the assessment and the way it's written, we're in support of it. We do need better roads in our area. In our household, we have 4 vehicles that are under, well, they're 2010 to 2013. So we have relatively new vehicles. So every vehicle we own is getting damage and wear because of these roads. We do travel down Cherry, Bakeman, Church, and Mast. All 4 roads we are affected by because we're the 7th house from the end. So any condition improvement is gonna be in our favor. The last comment I'd like to say is that, without reliable infrastructure, our home values do become stagnant. We do need this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the floor for public comment and entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Tominello, with support by Mr. York, to close the public hearing at 7:28. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. York?
Yes.
Mr. Batanti?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Kaplan?
Yes.
Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Verkest?
Yes. To the extent that we could, I guess I'd try to address or answer some of the questions. One of the first ones that I wrote down was a question about the engineering cost. It is in the total estimated costs, correct?
Correct.
But I think a part of the reason for that is because the engineering isn't complete because we don't have the money to spend to perform the engineering. If a majority of residents don't petition and want this work to be done, then we can't impose that on a group of residents. So if the assessment is approved, then the funds are available. The township is willing to front those funds, and we only collect from every resident once the project is done. The issue of a cost by lot versus cost by foot, certainly there are different ways to divide the costs. I know some folks say the linear feet, that's what's in front of my house, that's what I should pay. Others say, well, everybody drives over the whole stretch of road, so it should be divided equally. Ultimately, that decision isn't a township decision. If a group of residents, through the special assessment district process, decide that they'd like to draft a petition, and they, possibly with communication through their neighbors, decide that an equal charge per lot is fair and equitable, but then by its very nature, the decision for others to sign it is their vote to say, yes, we also think it's fair. No matter what system you choose, there's gonna be winners and losers, but the decision to go by lot versus by footage is a decision that the petition circulators made, and not this board. So it isn't really up to us to say which one is right or wrong, or which one should be chosen. The residents have chosen by lot. I don't believe there is a hardship process.
There is a process to apply to the state tax tribunal, and I know I had an email from Ms. Schaefer from the end of last week, and I just haven't a chance. You have met the requirement of appearing during the public hearing, so that's really the first step, is showing up at the last public hearing and speaking with concern to the project. So that reserves your right to appeal to the state tax tribunal.
Okay. And I would assume that if there's further information or details,
Yeah, I'll
certainly
follow
any
up.
resident that believes that there's a hardship and they wish to appeal to the tax tribunal, talk to the clerk, and we can provide guidance in that regard. Someone mentioned a tyranny of the minority. Well, it is, a majority asked for this, a majority signed it. The clerk's office approved that the amount of signatures that were valid is more than 50%, so it's the majority, it's what the majority wants. And then also, there was a question as to the hard costs versus estimate and the 15%. So let me just insert personal opinion a little bit here. It's frustrating to me sometimes when we're discussing something and we'd say, well, we'd like to make a purchase. So let's budget $80,000 to have this work done and then go out for quotes. And golly, if it isn't amazing that those quotes will come in awful close to $80,000. The problem is, by law, we have to speak publicly. So there are some limitations. And most everyone here comes from, or has come from, some other sector. I know Mr. Batanti, as our newest board member, is frustrated sometimes because we have to do everything in public. So you'd say, boy, it would be way better if we could talk about this and kind of hammer it out and then go out for quotes and nobody knows what our budget is. But unfortunately, in the past, some folks have abused that, and so an act was established saying that everything has to be done in the open and everything has to be available for public review before we do it. So it does change the rules, and sometimes it is frustrating. Specific to that 15%, though, our primary goal here is to get a competitive bid for this work, but at the same time, make sure that we don't suggest that the project is only $4,000, only to find out that it comes in at 5,000, and people feel that they've been somehow misled, and, you know, I wouldn't have signed the petition, I had no idea. So to the extent that we can, and I think the one resident who's put a lot of effort into this spoke to it, we try to have these numbers as conservative as possible, meaning hopefully we're erring on the high side, and, you know, hopefully there aren't contingencies. Hopefully, you know, contractors are anxious to get the work, and it will be competitively bid. But the numbers of the 15% and some of those issues are to try to make sure that the number is probably as high, toward the high end of what the actual cost may be. Of course, nobody knows until you go out for bid, but that's the intent. But the ultimate assessment, the ultimate amount that the final amount that each resident pays will be based on actual costs and not any estimate or any contingency or any extra costs.
And just to follow up on that, you know, we give you that number, we're bound by the law that establishes the special assessments if it goes 30% over and above what we said this number was gonna be, we gotta come to you and say, hey, do you guys still wanna do it? And you have that opportunity to say, whoa, that's way more, so, you know, that we wouldn't be able to go out and, you know, way out of whack with the quote, so.
I guess, Mr. Witt, that was going to be my question if we're talking about it now. Because it's a valid point, at what point you use 30% as an example?
The law is 10%.
10%.
Off the top of
So,
my head.
on a, you know, so we have $200,000 odd dollars here. If it was 250,000, there would have to be some.
We'd have to come back to this body here and
Right,
have
right.
a discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a process to analyze
Yeah,
or review something that's considerably out of line.
Basically, you have to come back and do these hearings again, and the residents would get an opportunity to say, well, that's way too much, or, yeah, it's a little bit more, but we still wanna go forward, cause that's, we competitively bid it, and we still want the work done, so they
Thank you.
have that option, so.
And certainly, with the economic recovery that a lot of industries have experienced, there has been a little bit more spending, and throughout 2015, there were a number of projects that we may have either been involved in or been a part of, where we've seen Department of Roads, for example, say, well, we used the engineer's estimate, and the figures came back higher. So that is a possibility, but it's really market driven, so
And
we don't know that.
We also had a local road that we did, and it came in under the engineer's
Right.
estimates.
There you go, absolutely.
And then just since I have a majority of, or not a majority, a large chunk of the residents here, and I'm sure there's some people watching, the timeline for this is we would start working with the engineer to get that portion of the work done as soon as possible, prepare the bid documents this winter, get it out to bid, so we'd be able to build as soon as the roads are suitable for that construction season. And then, once we get that final number back, and we work with the township engineer to make sure the project's all done, we'll work with the treasurer's office to get billings out towards the end of next year. Assuming everything gets done, you'll have that opportunity at the end of next year, before there be any interest charged, so.
All right. Having heard a public hearing, held the public hearing, I don't know if there's any other comment from the board. The next step, it appears, would be the adoption of the resolution, Mr. White?
Correct.
So we'd be looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 5.
Make a motion to adopt the foregoing Resolution 5 for Cherry Lane, Church Street, Bakeman Street, and Mass Court Improvement SAD project as presented.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Patanti. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Caprell. Discussion, board members? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Batanti?
Yes.
Mr. Caprell?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Caminello?
Yes.
Mr. York?
Yes.
Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Verkowski?
Yes. Thank you, board. And thanks to all the residents who came out and participated in the process. Next on the agenda is item C3 regarding our current building official. Board members, our current building official has submitted a 30-day notice per his contract as he is taking a position with another employer. I believe it's for lack of a better word, a promotion. It's a larger community, and I think a salary accordingly. I would recommend a motion to post, advertise, and interview for the position of building official with a recommendation to come back before the Board of Trustees.
I'll make that motion. Support.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. York, with support by Mr. Tominello.
Are we just gonna use the same process we've been using for 12 years that you, Adam, and I, if one of us can't make it, if one of the other board members wants to?
Yeah, and because this is a department head, I think typically for the department heads, we would do two department heads. Yep. Hey, guys, please, I'm sorry, we still have a meeting going on, and it's okay, I understand, a lot of interest there, sure, no problem. So to answer your question, yep, we I think when we look at hiring a department head, we usually involve, the other department. Same process we did when we hired
Perfect.
the current building official. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll open the floor for public comment.
I just want to state, just for the record, William Bardell, 18-year resident, new kid on the block, new breed, that we don't tie this new guy's hands behind his back and don't put money into the building department and say it's not mine. It's not mine, Austin Powers. We support the building department and we finance the building department, and we don't tie his hands behind his back and say it's not mine. There's a lot of slop and a lot of junk in this building department that needs to get cleaned up. And the next guy you put in there, support this guy. If you need to hire more building inspectors, blight enforcement officers, 24-hour blight line, that's what you do. And we need to pass these blight ordinances to protect our resale value. And don't tie this guy's hands behind his back. I'm not saying that's what you did with the last guy, but people are talking. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment. I don't know if there's any board comment.
Just a question, when is, Mr. Maples, when's his last day?
December 4th.
That's the problem when you hire good people, is they're attractive to other places.
Yep. And, so.
Happens.
That happens. So I've got a motion by Mr. York with support by Mr. Tominello to post, advertise, and interview for the position of building official with a recommendation to be brought back to the board for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. I will say, board members, that I did reach out to a building official in another community who's pretty active. The name of the organization escapes me, but there is a group of, a multiple county group of building officials, inspectors that meet regularly. This fellow's active in that group, so I said, hey, if you know of somebody, so I got a couple guys in mind, so I'll reach out to them. So I did begin to circulate the word and ask for some input, but we'll officially advertise based on this action. We'll open up the floor now for public comments. We'll allow 5 minutes for any subject.
Hey, William Bardell, 18-year resident. I just want to tell everybody, anyone who hasn't gone to SaveLakeSt. to please go to SaveLakeSt. and look under the facts. Just for food for thought, I know you might have saw in the news that this $20 million was spent for planting flowers and so forth along the Great Lakes region and so forth, and but you're getting a lot of half-truths. Permits were given to dump. Oakland County, their permit number 17545, they dumped 5.9 million gallons of sewage into the Red Run Drain, a tributary to the Red Run, or to the Clinton River, which goes into Lake St. Clair, on 10/28/2015. And they dumped from 12:20 p.m. to 2:55 p.m. They got a permit to dump. Also, on 10/28/2015, the 8.5-mile relief drain, event number 17549, dumped 3.8 million gallons of sewage into Lake St. Clair. To me, I don't think that's romantic. On 10/28/2015, from 10:45 a.m. to 2:05 p.m., the Martin Retention Basin, event ID 17550, dumped 6.3 million gallons of sewage into Lake St. Clair. So you're going to hear a lot of half-truths about this. You're going to hear marinas going, God, gee whiz, gee. You're going to hear fishing tackle shops going, gee whiz, golly geez, why are you talking about this? We're talking about this and take the hit now and clean up the mess. And then we can sit back and have a cup of coffee. But let's get this done. Let's get behind Save Lake St. Clair and do something about this. You can call Mark Hackle, Executive Office, and ask him why there were 60 beach closings and we want a blue water economy. You can call Governor Snyder and ask him why it's hard to find these Department of Environmental Quality. You got to do 7 clicks now instead of 1 or 2 to find this stuff, the dumps. So you can call Governor Snyder at 517-373-3400 and ask him why they're still issuing permits and they're dumping in Lake St. Clair. You can call Mark Hackle at 586-469-7001 and ask Mark Hackle why they're issuing permits to dump into Lake St. Clair. Take the hit now, sit back and have a cup of coffee later. Let's clean up this mess. We want a blue water economy. And by the way, ask Mr. Hackle why he disassembled the Water Quality Board and declared Lake St. Clair clean. Woo, let's have a party, it's done. Sweep it under the rug and let's not address the issue. The Water Quality Board inspects the water from the dump site and makes sure the parts per million is what they say the parts per million are. And you're going to hear a lot of half-truths on this. The truth is in the numbers of what they're dumping, and they're dumping into our lake. And we could say, golly gee, golly gee. Let's make a resolution to start finding these people that are dumping to save Lake St. Clair. Let's make a resolution. Let's find these people. Don't be afraid of these politicians. They work for us. We're paying the taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment. Move back to board comment. Any comment, board members? Hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries, meeting adjourned. Thank you, board.
Yes, so